and welcome to a new video. I started this series like 2 weeks ago, and I do remember that I wanted to have my channel renamed by now. I do know what it's going to be called. I don't know if by the time I post this video, if I have changed the name already. But now I forgot what the name was that I gave this series. Like, is it the Rockstar series? Is it? I have no idea. So now I have my channel renamed. I'm gonna call it the new Rockstar channel. But now I have an unnamed series. Like, what is the name of this series? I have no idea. But I do know that for the first video, I do remember what I spoke about, and I do remember what I wanted to share in this one. So in the first video was really about kind of recognizing myself, and therefore in other rock stars that I really thought like well, obviously it's a rock star energy. It's not like I'm like a rock star as in a musician that goes on stage. It's more that I have recognized a certain attitude, a certain personality thing, and also creativity thing, very, very important here. And that I've called that rock star-ness because it comes with a different set of values, it comes with a different set of problems, it comes with a different set of talents that are not addressed in other approaches, let's say. So what I recognized in myself, and therefore brought into the rockstar conversation, was that when you have a certain power in yourself, a certain creative power, creative force, which I compare to the superhero Venom, who is a man, but he has an extraterrestrial force that has melted together with him. So they're like, now we are Venom. If you have a force like that inside of you, then you have limited options to what it is that you can do, and you have to choose very well. And your first priority or should be knowing that you have this venom inside of you, knowing that you have this kind of like creative monster, this creative force inside of you. And then the second thing is recognizing where does it express for me. So I can have like, I can know other people with a rock star personality who are really good at doing business or who are really good at doing yoga, but it doesn't mean that my venom, my creative power expresses in the same way. So that is kind of like a very lengthy recap of the first video. It is, do you have that power inside of you? Then realize that you have it and that it's going to cause, problems if you don't address it. And the second thing is, how does it express? Because you can't just go pick and choose what other people are successfully rocking and you thinking, oh, I want to do that too. Maybe that's not what your venom inside of you wants to do. So that was the first video and of the unnamed series. And I already said at the end of that video, I want to talk to you about fame in the next video, and I want to because I have an alternative vision on this, and I do remember that, and I know what I was going to share. So let's go share this. So I think you may have heard of this, but the common idea about what fame is or why people want it, because The fame is not something that is kind of like given to you. You have to, in most cases, you have to make a commitment to it. You have to pursue it. You have to, in some shape or form, you have to be invested in it before it comes. It's not like, handed out for free. And so the people who are famous, they have invested in becoming famous. Um, uh, and the common idea from a psychology point of view, when people really want to be famous, and it comes from kind of like this inner urge, almost compulsory. They have to be famous. They feel that I have to have that audience to be okay, to uh, um, feel seen, worthy. Um, um, yeah, so those are kind of like words that just come to mind. So we really have this urge, or we can recognize in them this real urge to become famous. Well, the regular psychological explanation for that is that this is an expression of an kind of like an emptiness inside of someone. So it's the place, you could say, it's the place where we should feel unconditional love, and where we should have felt the unconditional love of others, the place where we know our worth in all circumstances, and where we feel held and um, um, uh, yeah, that we just have a right to exist just because we exist, that we don't have to work for that to be loved or worthy or appreciated. And it is that place that has not been attended to and did not get the care or the uh, um, uh, did not feel the belonging that a child deserves, that as an adult kind of like externalizes, and people who did not have that place in them filled properly with the things that and the emotions that belong there, that those are the people who have this urge, compulsory urge to become famous. That is like, from a layman's terms, because I'm definitely not a psychologist, but that's how I understood the general view is of why people can have this urge to become famous. And so I want to offer a different perspective on that, and that is that, and I'm going to just take a little bit of a sidetrack here, because I'm sure that you're aware that when people have an inner conflict, some people have a lot of conflicting emotions and a lot of inner conflict, that they tend to externalize that, like they have, instead of dealing with their own emotions and dealing with their own internal conflicts, they have this urge to have conflicts with people around them that they can see, because that's easier. It's kind of like, to bear all that conflict inside of you is just so unbearable that it comes out in conflict. So my alternative theory to fame is that if you have this venom power, this creative power inside of you, then wouldn't it be possible that, just like someone who has a lot of conflict inside of them, that you want it out, that You do not want fame because you want to feel loved or appreciated, or because you have a hole inside of you. You want this fame because this fame will allow you to kind of like let this power to share the burden of having to live with this. So it's like if you have a creative power inside of you and then you share it with the world, and then the whole world is like, yay, yay, ah, then at least the world around you now can see who you are, and they experience that greatness, that strength, that power, that overwhelming thing that you have to live with day in, day out. They see that too. Just like when someone has inner conflict and they make conflict with everybody around them. At least for that person, now the outer world matches the inner world. Same thing. If you have this super big power inside of you and you express it and it brings you fame, then at least now the outer world matches the inner world. People regard you as being really big, as being really important, as being really powerful. So I think that it's kind of like it releases the stress of having to deal with a force like that. So it's not about, it's an alternative vision to fame. And maybe this speaks to you, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But I think it's a really interesting one. Because what we know is that when people become famous, you hear this, and that's like whether it's because they have this really big internal drive from a creative power, kind of like the Venom power, or whether they have it from childhood trauma. You always hear that it doesn't work. It doesn't fulfill them. There's always this kind of like it's not enough. And sometimes they like start doing drugs or engage in all kinds of self-destructive behaviors. And I think that is because there has not been this realization that you cannot escape that part of you, with the people who do it because they are deeply hurt, are deeply scarred. That is mostly, that's kind of like obvious. Of course, you can't fill that hole with the love of other people, but it's the same way you still have to deal with that hole inside of you. But it's the same way when you have this creative power, when you have this enormous force. Even if you share it with everybody around you and everybody recognizes like, oh, you're really big, you're really powerful, you still have to deal with it. It doesn't, you haven't solved having to live with that power. It's still there. You still need healthy ways to deal with it yourself. And so I think that's something to acknowledge. And maybe you are watching this real time. The movie Venom 3 is in cinemas right now, and maybe that's that can help you like recognize if that's true for you. Like, are you carrying around like this creative entity inside of you that is like super powerful but that also, you know, has its own impulses, and that has an agenda that you don't necessarily endorse, and that has certain values that you definitely don't endorse, or lack of values in some areas. So um, whether you aspire to be famous, or whether you are famous, the lessons that fame might have for us are applicable to anybody who has this force inside of them. You have to learn how to deal with it yourself. Whether you're able to become famous and kind of like let some of the pressure off by having the outside world recognize you for the venom monster that you are, or not, it doesn't really matter. You have to come to terms with who you are and the power that is given to you, or that is currently in you, and that you have to deal with. And yeah, so that was my TED talk on fame for rock stars. And and I've also thought about the next topic, and that is craft. So craft means any skill that you know that you are an artist in, but craft in general, craft or profession. So that will be the topic for next time. See you then. Bye.